from a brave Holocaust survivor, Sarah Weinstein. Sarah, thank you for coming from Israel to being with us. Sarah was just a little girl when the Nazis forced her and her family into a ghetto in July 1941. She survived hunger, fear, and miserable conditions, all because she was Jewish. In late 1942, her family was hidden by a local family who risked everything. Then, a village mob, fueled by anti-Jew hatred, arrived. Shots were fired. Chaos followed. As bullets tore through the room, Sarah's mother threw herself on top of her, using her body as a shield. Her mother was killed protecting her daughter. We wish this were only a memory from the Holocaust. It is not. On October 7th, 2023, Hamas terrorists crossed into Israel. They went house to house. They hunted families. They murdered parents in front of their children. 16-year-old Rotem Matthias survived because his parents died protecting him. As terrorists stormed his home, Rotem lay completely still beneath his mother's body. Deborah Matthias, was shot and killed by Hamas terrorists. Her lifeless body lay on top of Rotem for hours. Those scenes were not imagined. They were recorded. They were celebrated. Hamas did not invent hatred of Jews. It has revived it with new weapons and new slogans. Their goal is not borders or compromise. It is extermination. The threat is modern. The hatred is not. Again, today, Jews are forced to use their own bodies to protect those they love. That is the reality we are confronting today. This violence does not stop at Israel's borders. Last month, on Bondi Beach in Australia, Alexander Kleitman and his wife Larissa stood together at a Hanukkah celebration. Both were Holocaust survivors. When terrorists opened fire on the Jews gathered there, Alexander did what Sarah's mother had done in 1942. What Rotem's mom had done on October 7th. He shielded his wife with his body. He was 87 years old. He was murdered protecting his wife. Around them, others did the same. People scrambled to cover children. What we saw was horrific and tragically familiar. This was another massacre targeting Jews. This is not memory. This is now. Bondi was not an isolated act. It followed October 7th, the worst massacre of Jews since the Holocaust. It followed synagogue fire bombings. It followed shootings and deadly attacks from Manchester to Washington, from Paris to Sydney. This is not a coincidence. Hatred that begins with words does not remain words. It spreads and it kills. Anti-Semitism did not end in 1945. It adapted. Today, it often hides behind hostility to Israel. We hear it in chants to globalize the Intifada. We see it in calls to boycott Israel. We see it on college campuses where Jewish students are harassed, excluded, and intimidated. This is not protest. This is not free speech. This has a name. The name is anti-Semitism. Targeted violence does not begin with graves. It begins with dehumanization. That is the lesson of the Holocaust. Hatred does not spread on its own. It is enabled. It is legitimized. It is given authority. Especially over the last 2 years, this institution, the UN, has failed that test. We have all seen it. Claims of genocide. A claim made by a senior UN official that 14,000 babies would die within 48 hours. That claim did not come from the fringe. It came from the heart of the UN. It was made without evidence. It was repeated without correction. It traveled the world, stamped with UN credibility. It has consequences. It inflamed hatred. It legitimized lies. It put a target on Jewish communities around the world. Hamas came with the same hatred and the same intent as the Nazis, to murder Jews, terrorize families, and erase entire communities. They slaughtered 1,200 innocent people. They beheaded them. They raped women. They burned children alive. More than 250 people were taken hostage. But unlike 1941, today there is a different reality. We crushed and stopped Hamas's terror machine. We brought home every hostage, every single one of them. We waited 843 days. Today, the pin finally comes off. We have shown that the Jewish people are no longer defenseless. Today, we have our own army, the soldiers of the IDF. The days when Jews are massacred without response are over. Yet, from October 8th, while we were still counting our dead and pushing back terrorists, we faced relentless condemnation from within this institution. Hypocrisy, bias. The campaign against Israel started while Israelis were still being hunted. But despite the double standards, despite the pressure, we stood tall. Our brave IDF soldiers, my son, my daughter, our children, stood up and stepped forward to defend our people. They are the grandchildren of Holocaust survivors and of the founders of our nation, now standing proud to ensure Jewish survival. I stand here and thank our heroes who fought like lions, with determination, with resilience, with bravery. To our brave soldiers, I say this: we honor your courage. We admire your sacrifice. We salute you. Thanks to you, every Jew feels safer today. To my fellow ambassadors, the responsibility now turns to you and to your governments. Standing with Israel does not mean agreeing with us on everything. It means standing against terror. It means confronting hatred before it turns violent. It means refusing to tolerate incitement in your streets, on your campuses, and online. It means showing real leadership, because too many in this building have buckled. They buckled under the pressure of biased media, false propaganda, and anti-Semitic campaigns. Do not repeat that failure. Do not surrender moral clarity for political gain. Do not wait until words turn into blood. Never again demands action. Not tomorrow, not in a year. Never again is now.
Thank you, Ambassador Danon. I would now like to invite His Excellency Mr. Michael Waltz, Permanent Representative of the United States, to deliver his remarks.
Ambassador Danon, thank you for those incredibly powerful words. Excellencies, survivors, friends, today the United States of America joins the international community in honoring the memory of those 6 million Jews murdered in cold blood in the Holocaust, including 1.5 million innocent children, and the millions more who were persecuted and killed by the Nazi regime. We remember them, we mourn them, and we recommit ourselves with fierce determination to pursue justice for the victims, for the survivors, and their families. We, the United States, we, the international community, must remain unyielding, unapologetically committed to combating anti-Semitism, not just in the United States, but around the world, including right here at the United Nations, the very institution that was born from the ashes of World War II, where the world then vowed never again. Well, colleagues and excellencies, I have tragic and sad news for you that it is happening again. The UN must do far more now to confront this ancient poison, to fulfill its founding promise, and to protect every people, including the Jewish people. As a soldier myself, I'm proud to say that 81 years ago, it was American and Allied forces who played an indelible role in tearing open the veil of Nazi evil. In April 1945, U.S. Army troops liberated Ohrdruf, the first concentration camp they encountered, a sub-camp of Buchenwald, confronting literally piles of emaciated corpses and the stench of mass industrial scale murder. Days later, the soldiers of Patton's U.S. Third Army liberated Buchenwald itself, where nearly 21,000 survivors awaited death from starvation, from typhus, and from sheer brutality. And then those same soldiers liberated Dachau, which we should remind everyone wasn't off in the woods or out in some remote place. It was literally across the street. Literally across the street from the city. Those gates in Dachau opened to reveal crematoria ovens, mass graves, and the skeletal survivors, prisoners who had endured an unimaginable torment. Thank God that General Dwight David Eisenhower had the foresight to order immediate and extensive documentation of all of the atrocities. He sent that command out immediately because sadly he foresaw that this would be questioned in the future. He personally went to visit the camps and personally witnessed the atrocities. And he later stated, quote, "I made the visit deliberately in order to be in a position to give firsthand evidence of these things if ever in the future there develops a tendency to charge these allegations merely to propaganda." These American liberators, young men, boys really, from every corner of our nation, did not seek this burden. And what, as an aside, I want to say that is so unique about the American soldier is they are willing to go all over the world and die for other people's freedom. Those people, those soldiers bore witness so the world could never, ever again plead ignorance. Their courage ended one nightmare and issued that timeless command that we've said today, never again. But never again must be words, it has to be more than words, and it has to be action. And yet today, that command also rings out a warning. Anti-Semitism is not vanquished, it rages anew. It's reaching the worst levels since the end of World War II. It ignited and accelerated the barbaric Hamas terrorist attacks of October 7th, 2023, when over 1,200 innocents were slaughtered, families were burned, hostages were taken. It was an orgy of hatred that targeted Jews explicitly and unapologetically. The Anti-Defamation League's latest Global 100 Index reveals that almost half of the world's adults now harbor deeply entrenched anti-Semitic attitudes, more than double the figure from a decade ago, and the highest they have on record. Younger generations, sadly, under 35, show even higher levels of prejudice. And meanwhile, the Combat Anti-Semitism movement documented a staggering 100 in global incidences in 2024, not 81 years ago, in 2024. In the United States, the ADL's 2024 audit recorded 9,354 incidents, the highest ever in their 46 years of tracking. Assaults up 21%, vandalism up 20%, campus incidences amongst our young people exploding at 84%. In Europe, the surge has been especially acute. The European Union Agency for Fundamental Rights documented that Jewish communities reported an increase of more than 400% in anti-Semitic incidences, harassment, threats, vandalism, and violence. And this wave of hate has left synagogues under siege. Jewish students, once again, hiding their identity. Whole communities living in fear. I mean, what are we, back in 1933? This is absurd. And we have to call it out. And I commend the United Nations for continuing to hold this event. But it is, look, this is a people that cannot live unless they live within fear. It's families fleeing their neighborhoods. I mean, I've seen synagogues here in the United States with armed guards, armed up like fortresses, and the venomous chants that are echoing in the streets and on our campus and online. It's Holocaust denial, it's distortion, it's rehabilitation in these historic narratives of Nazi collaborators. It's the manipulation of history right here at the UN and elsewhere. It's all a pretext for hatred. And it leads to things like we just saw at Bondi Beach in December. 15 innocent people murdered during Hanukkah. Elie Wiesel once hoped that anti-Semitism perished in Auschwitz. And sadly, he lived to see its horrific resurrection. We cannot wait for another liberation. So what do we do about it? Like, what do we do? Well, first and foremost, education, commemoration. I firmly believe, and I know so many of you do, remain our mightiest weapons. We have to amplify survivors' voices. By the way, I am so honored to meet you, to know you, to understand your history, but to celebrate your strength, to truly celebrate your strength. You did not become a lifelong victim. You moved forward and educate the next generation so that this can never happen again. Look, we have to teach that next generation that this dark abyss that leads to and results from unbridled Semitism is someplace we can never go again, and we urge every nation to honor the victims and survivors by teaching this history unflinchingly. No future generation can repeat these horrors, and the United States proudly stands as a founding member of the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance. Reiterating at every turn, never again, we reaffirm our commitment to justice through restitution, and through compensation. The other horrible thing, amongst many horribles, is that the Holocaust was history's largest organized theft, an attempt to erase Jewish life, but at the same time enriching the Nazis. And for decades, I'm proud to say, the U.S. has led efforts, now advanced by the State Department's Special Envoy for Holocaust Issues, who works very closely with the Special Envoy for Anti-Semitism, Rabbi Yehuda Kaplun, whom I am proud to call a friend and a wingman in this fight. In 2024, the U.S. partnered globally to promote the best practices for the Washington Principles on Nazi-confiscated art and assets. And as of December of 2025, 35 countries have endorsed them. That should be celebrated, that should be applauded, but we should also ask, why only 35? Why isn't there more? And I'm calling on all nations to join. Look, colleagues, President Trump has advanced these causes resolutely. Right out the gate, after his inauguration, he issued executive orders and ordered our entire government, the entire might and weight of the United States government, to combat anti-Semitism aggressively on every front. But, Excellencies, the Holocaust, as we've heard here today, and I just want to reinforce, the Holocaust is not distant history. It is a dire, living warning against efforts to revive this existential threat to humanity. The barbarism of October 7th reminds us how quickly hatred can erupt into mass murder. The future hangs on our choices we make right here today. And on this solemn day, please let us honor the victims through decisive action. What are those actions? Truthful, accurate remembrance and history, rigorous Holocaust education, open the archives, full restitution, and an unbreakable stand against anti-Semitism everywhere and always. May the memory of the victims be a blessing, but a call to responsibility for us all. Never again, starting now. Let's get to work. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ambassador Waltz. It is my pleasure